As we move into this month of February, the second month of 2021, it just seems like it's going so fast already, the month of February. The month of February also is Black History Month, and it is the month that we recognize the accomplishments and the contributions of Black Americans to our American society. This celebration or recognition started in 1926 as Negro History Week. It was just 1 week, the second week in February, and it was around the time of the birth of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. And then in 1969, Kent State University students decided to expand it to a 1 month celebration. And in 1970, it officially became a 1 month celebration called Black History Month. And then in 1976, President Gerald Ford officially recognized February as Black History Month, and we continue to do that throughout our time now. So I just would like to call that to your attention and invite you to avail yourself of knowledge and awareness of Black History Month and contributions of Black Americans to our American society, and recognize that it's all American history. So that's one of the things I wanted to say about February. The other thing is that February is a month that we think about love. That's the month that we celebrate love. I don't know. I don't know the history of why we celebrate love in February when it's a lifetime thing, a lifetime quality that we want to celebrate. But this month is the month for love, and our theme for the month is love is the way. Love is the way. And love really is the way because it is the most powerful force in the universe. Love. Love is God, and God is love. We know this to be the truth, and we can just be in that ocean of love to the degree that we can be open and available to it. And I bring up the openness and the availability of it because my topic today is from thimble to vat, from thimble to vat. And I was surprised that I didn't expect a lot of younger people to know what a thimble is. And I was talking to some younger folks today over the past week, and they know what a thimble is, but they were asking, what is a vat? So a vat is a large tank that is designed to hold liquids, a large tank. So the first time I went to a religious science church or started to study religious science, I heard the minister say that you can go to the ocean with a thimble or a vat. And he was analogizing that to going to God and how we get to experience the presence of God. And it depends on what we take to the ocean. If we want to get water, if we take a thimble, we can fill it up with that. Or if we take a vat, we can fill it up with that. It all depends on what we bring to the ocean. And so what he was explaining was how our consciousness works. And our consciousness allows us to experience the allness and the fullness of God. And so I've always remembered that from a thimble to a vat, from a thimble to a vat. We can go to the ocean with a thimble, or we can go to the ocean with a vat, or we can go to the well, as Kit was singing about, with a thimble, or we can go to the well with a vat or with a bucket, whatever. Emerson says that we are each inlets and outlets for the passage of divine love and life and power. And so what kind of inlet will we be? It depends on what the vessel is, whether the vessel is going to be a thimble or whether that vessel is going to be a vat or whether that vessel is going to be whatever. Ernest Holmes says it all depends on our belief. It all depends on our belief. And, we're talking about belief throughout the year, dare to believe. But it all depends on our belief. And Holmes says that if our belief is the size of a thimble, then spirit will fill that. Spirit will fill that thimble. If our belief is the size of a thermos, he says, spirit will fill that. If our belief is the size of a train station, he says, then spirit will fill that. And he says, if our belief is open at the top and flexible, then spirit will expand that. Spirit will expand that because we're open at the top, we're flexible. So just keep in mind that it depends on what the vessel is. It depends on what the vessel is that we bring to spirit, that we are that we make available to spirit, because there's no big or small in spirit. There's no large, there's no small, there's no big, there is no little. There's God just is. God's just looking for for a place to express, for an opening through which he can express. And if we bring a thimble for the expression of God, then God expresses to the degree that he can in that thimble. If we bring a thermos, then God expresses to the degree that it can in that thermos, in the space that's allowed in that thermos. If we bring a vat, then God expresses according to the confines of that vat. So whatever our consciousness is, that's why it's so important for us to always continue to expand in consciousness, continue to expand our awareness, continue to expand our availability. And according to our availability, God can express, but only according to our availability, only according to our openness, only according to the space that we create and that we allow for the full expression of God. And so that's what I want us to really look at today. What is the size of our vessel? What is the size of our belief? And our belief and the size of our vessel is really informed by love, because love is the greatest force in the universe. Love is the greatest force in the universe. Love is all there is. Love is God. God is all there is. They're one and the same. They're one and the same. So what is the size of the vessel? And how can we allow it to enlarge, allow it to expand, allow it to be more, allow it to be more, allow it to be more? And as we know, I've talked about expectancy before. Our expectancy accounts for more. Our expectancy, when we start to expect more, when we start to be open to more, when we start to look for more, when we start to desire more, and then be willing to open our hearts, open our minds, open our entire being to more, then we get a chance to experience more love. We get a chance to experience more God. We get a chance to experience more of the all that is. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do today, to just really look at how can I be that inlet for more, and then that outlet for it to express through me. How can I be that inlet for more and more and more to come into me? How can I be that inlet and then be that outlet, so that it goes out into the world and it expresses throughout the world, throughout every place, every space. And it touches everyone. It affects everyone, because we're all one. There's only one light. There's only one power. There's only one presence. There's only one love, and that is the love of God. That is the love of God. And so I'm inviting you, let's just take a breath together for a moment. And I'm just inviting you to do two or three things. And the first one is to really look at the size of your vessel. Look at the size of the vessel that you are bringing to the ocean of love. What is the size of your vessel? And you determine that by really tapping into your feelings. What does your vessel feel like? What does your vessel feel like? If there's something clutching, then that's a smaller vessel. If there's a little bit more opening, then that's a larger vessel. And if you're just feeling totally free and open, then that is beyond the vat size, beyond the vat size. But if you're holding anxiety, if you're holding resentment, if you're holding anything against someone else, if you're blaming and judging, then that takes us to the thimble size, because it closes our hearts. And an open heart is the way that God works, through an open heart. But if our hearts are closed, if our hearts are closing, if our hearts are narrow, if we're holding something against someone else, then we have decreased that opening through which God can work. We have decreased that vessel through which we can be filled with God's presence and with God's love. And so I just invite you to really be in touch with your feelings, be in touch with what's happening with you. Feel into, and you can feel whether it's a thimble or whether it's a vat. I've been experiencing a situation for the last 2 or 3 weeks where I have been um, challenged with another person that I was dealing with. And every time I started to deal with this other person, not in person, but just virtually, every time I started to deal with them, I would feel myself clutching, and I'd feel myself, my buttons getting pushed. Not that somebody else was pushing it, I was allowing that to happen, but I was allowing my buttons to get pushed, and I was allowing myself to get really, really emotionally attached. And as I started to think about this thimble to that situation, I could hear the alarm going off in my head, going thimble, 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 thimble. And it reminded me that, that's where I've been. That's where I've been. And every time I get involved with this person, then then I get upset. My emotions get involved. My ego gets attached. And I realized that when that happens, my heart was closing. When that happens, I was ready to be in separation mode. When that happened, I was ready to be in blaming and judging mode. And I had to just step back and take a breath and listen to that alarm that was going off in my head, going thimble, thimble, thimble. And I had to step back, take a breath, and just really be in a place of being willing to let it go, being willing to open up, being willing to be that outlet for the full expression of God. And I could not be that so long as I was allowing myself to be upset, to be attached, to be in a place of separation from this other person. Was it easy? Not necessarily, but it was doable. It was, and I knew that it was also necessary, because I knew that if that situation wasn't resolved, all kinds of stuff was going to start to happen, because all kinds of things would start to be attracted in. And so, I had to really just take a deep breath, take and relax, and just be in a place of openness and availability. And when I moved into that place of availability, then I was in that place of being open to God's guidance. And I knew that there was a solution, a perfect solution to the situation, but I wasn't open to it, because I just had that little thimble there. And the thimble kept, was all I could take in. All the guidance I could take in could be held in the thimble. And so the situation wasn't working out. And when I decided that, what, I gotta do something different. I have to let this go. I have to be more open and more available. And so I was in my meditation one day, and as I was meditating, the complete answer just came right through. The complete answer just came right through, because I had made the decision to just tune into what that vessel was that I was dealing with, and to expand it. And as soon as I did that, then the guidance that I needed, the guidance that I had prayed for, the guidance I had been wanting, just came right through. And it just step one step, one step, one step. This is how this works. This is what you do. This is how this is to unfold. And it worked out. It worked out perfectly. But it worked out because I had let go of the thimble and had moved, as Ernest Holmes says, to being open at the top and being flexible, so that God could then expand. God could then expand. God could then expand that passageway within me, so that God could then continue to guide me, continue to guide my steps, continue to guide my actions. But it took an awareness on my part. It took an awareness on my part of where I really was, and an admission that I was standing at the ocean with the thimble. And sometimes we can feel so separate that we're not even at the ocean. We're not even at the ocean sometimes, because we're just that separate. We're feeling just that separate. And when we're feeling that separate from each other, we're also feeling that separate from God. And so as I look back over the last few weeks, I realized that there were days when I wasn't even anywhere near the ocean, let alone with a thimble. And then I started to open up a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until I finally got to the place this past week where I could take a breath. I could take a breath. And I'm sharing that with you because I'm inviting you to really look at where you are and really look at those situations that cause strife, those situations that may cause disharmony, those situations that may cause discomfort or dis-ease for you. Anytime we're in a place where we're not at peace, and when we don't have peace of mind and peace in our hearts, and when we're not in that space of loving and being open to just love, the essence of love. When we're not open to that, then that's a good indicator. That's a good indicator to look at the vessel. Look at the vessel that we're bringing to the well, to the ocean. Look at the vessel that we're bringing to the presence of God, and how can that presence then begin to move in and through and as our lives in whatever situation we find ourselves. And that's how healing begins to happen, because we begin to heal that sense of separation that we have from God and that sense of separation that we have from each other. So I invite you to really, really utilize that, to really, really utilize that feeling. Let your feelings be that barometer. Let your feelings be that indicator of the size of your vessel. And then decide, do I want to continue to have this thimble, or do I want to expand it to a vat and then beyond? And then beyond, because once we start the expansion, we are really moving into that place of oneness with God. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do this week, is to really look at those places where we're holding on. Last week I had suggested that we all, for this year, just select one quality of God, a quality that we want to work on all year. Now, that doesn't mean to the exclusion of the other qualities, of all the qualities of God, because we can't do that. When we're open to God, then all of God's qualities are available to us. All of God's qualities are available. When we're open, then all of the qualities, we get to experience all of them, because all of them are within us, because we are one with God. So we have to have all the qualities right where we are. So all the qualities are right here, but I am inviting you to look at those qualities that we are the most challenged with, the ones that challenge us the most right now, to something that we need to work through, something that we need to focus on, so that we can have the experience of the allness and fullness of whatever that quality is. And as I said last week, my quality for the year, my word for the year is order, because I get in every visioning I do, whether it's for the church or life's purpose visioning for myself, I get releasing clutter. It's what I need to release, and what I need to embrace is order. So working through order, not only physical order, but I recognize that the situation that I found myself in over the last few weeks that made me aware of the fact that I was at the ocean with a thimble, that situation was clutter. There was a lot of emotional clutter involved there. There was a lot of spiritual clutter involved there. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff involved in that. And so that was order trying to reveal itself through me. That situation that came up was order trying to reveal itself. And remember, I told you last week that whatever your quality is, whatever you decide that you are going to focus on as your quality, as your word for this year, you will have many opportunities and many different disguises to work through whatever that quality is, to work through whatever those issues are, to work through whatever the challenges are, with regard to that quality that's trying to reveal itself. Order is seeking to reveal itself in my life. Order is seeking to reveal itself in every aspect of my life. Order is seeking to reveal itself everywhere, in every aspect. And so, as I said, whether it's spiritual clutter, mental clutter, emotional clutter, physical clutter, clutter is clutter. And so being willing to let it go, being willing to let it go. And so the second thing, after moving into the place of feeling into the vessel, feeling into the size of the vessel that you're taking to the ocean, the next thing is to identify the thicket in which your heart gets caught. I love that word thicket, as those of you who know me know, that I love that word thicket. That's a Howard Thurman word. He talks about the thicket in which his heart gets caught over and over again. In a few of his essays, he mentions the thicket. And so the thicket in which my heart had gotten caught was needing to be right, uh, judging and blaming. My heart got caught in the thicket of unforgiveness. My heart got caught in the thicket of so much stuff with that situation. And so I had to move into the place of being willing to move through the thicket, being willing to let the thicket go. After I identified it, being willing to let it go, identifying first of all that this is a forgiveness issue here. This is a forgiveness issue here. This is a time for me to be willing to let this go. This is a time of blaming. This is a time of judging. This is a time that I've been repeating over and over again. What what she said, what he said, and then what I said. You know how we get into that? We get into telling the story and telling the story and telling the story. And when we get caught up in the story, then we get caught. That's the thicket in which our hearts get caught. Because we start telling the story, we begin to identify with the story, then we start to identify as victims, and then we start to blow it all out of proportion. And you know what we have to do then is to take a breath. Take a breath and step back and just allow love to come forth. Allow love to heal this situation. Allow that power and that presence that is God, and knowing that God is love and only love knows love. Allowing love to be in the midst of that situation. And so whatever your quality is for this year, whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is that you're working through, whatever it is that you're challenged with, just take a breath and then see what the thicket is that's keeping that quality from revealing itself in and through and as your life. Because again, there will be situations that come up that seem totally unrelated to whatever it is you're dealing with, totally unrelated to this quality. And the qualities, as I said, they're all one. They're all one. So just because order is the quality that I have chosen for the year doesn't mean that peace is out the window. Because until there was order in that situation that I described, there's no way to have peace and complete peace of mind. There's no way to have the fullness of love. There's no way to have forgiveness and compassion, because you see how they all work together. They all work together, and the thicket in which our hearts get caught can close out all of the other qualities, can close out all the other qualities. So I invite you to really, really, really look at releasing the thicket, identifying the thicket, and then and being willing to release it, being willing to move through it, being willing to not allow your heart to get caught in that. And the way we do that is love. The way we do that is love. And our love of God, our love for God, our awareness that love is God, all of that carries us through this process. All of that carries us through this process. All of that takes us to this process of healing, because that's where we are. We're on the path of healing. We're on the path of healing our sense of separation from God. We're on the path of learning that we are one with God. We're on the path of realizing, making real the truth that we are one with God, that there's only one life, one power, one presence, one mind, and that one is my life. And so when I know that, then I have to be in a place where I am in alignment with that. And I have to be in a place where I can be an outlet for the allness and the fullness of that one to express through me, as me, out into the world. This is how we change the world. This is how we heal the world. This is how we heal our own lives. This is how we heal the separation, by allowing the love of God to come in and through and as each and every one of us. So let's just take a breath for a moment. Let's just take a breath. And the final thing that I want you to do is I've talked about this before and I talk about it periodically, is to golden key these situations. You know, Emmett Fox wrote a little book, and I've talked to you, as I said, I've talked to you about this before, but it's one of my favorite things to do. Wrote a little 6-page pamphlet called The Golden Key. And it has one rule that we take our attention away from when we have problems. This is the way we handle them. You take your attention off the problem and place your full attention on God. You take your attention away from the problem and place your full attention on God. When there's a challenge, when there's a problem, when there is thicket in which our hearts are caught, you take our attention away from the problem and place our full attention on God. And that's called the golden key. That's the golden key. And whatever the problem is, whatever it is, be it a physical problem, be it a relationship problem, be it a financial problem, whatever the problem may be, whatever we identify it as, whatever the thicket may be, we take our focus off that, we take our attention off that, and we place our attention on God. Stop thinking about the problem, start thinking about God. And if you're wondering what to think, God is all there is. Whatever it is you know about God, whatever it is you want to say about God, God is my very life. God is in the midst of this situation. But take your attention off that problem because you can't think about God and the problem at the same time. Those are mutually exclusive situations. The problem and God, that's separation. In God, there's only one. In God, there's only one. And so when you take your focus off whatever that problem was, when I took my attention off that problem and decided to move into that place of recognizing God, there is no separation. God, there is no separation. God is in the midst right here, right now. God is in the midst right here, right now. Then what I had done right then was to golden key that situation. That's the golden key. That's the golden key to our freedom. That's the golden key to our healing. That's the golden key to our expression and experience of the love of God. That's the golden key to our oneness and to our experiencing the oneness that is God. That's the golden key to us really understanding that love is the way, that love is the way, that love is the only way. And that's what we want to always know. We want to always know that love is the way. And when we know that love is the way, then we get a chance to walk in that love. We get a chance to walk in that love of God always. Every step that we take, we get a chance to know that we are walking in the love of God. But we can only walk in the love of God to the degree that we are aware of our thoughts, of our words, of our actions, of our willingness to let go of stuff that we hold on to, of our willingness to heal any sense of separation that we have, any sense of separation that we have. We have to be aware of that. And when we are aware of that and the things that would block it, the thicket in which our hearts get caught, we just golden key it and just let it go and just let it go. And so that's what I'm inviting you to do. That's what I'm inviting you to do. Identify the size of the vessel that you're taking by your feelings that you're having. And then look at the thicket and be willing to let it go. Be willing to let it go. And then golden key the situation. Golden key the situation. Take your focus off the problem. Put your attention on God. Put your attention on God. Put your attention on God. And then get to experience the allness and the fullness of God's love in and through and as our very lives. So let's take a breath together as we just move into prayer in this moment. Just opening our hearts, opening our minds, opening our entire being, opening our entire being, and imagining our entire being, feeling our entire being the size of a vat and beyond, being open at the top, being at that flexible, being at that place where God can expand more and more and more in our consciousness. This is a consciousness that we move into right here and right now. And in this place, in this place, in this place, I'm just knowing that God is indeed all there is. God is the only power, the only love, the only presence, the only mind. God is the only. And this onlyness that is God is my life. It is my very life. It is the life of each of us here this day. This onlyness is that from which we can never be separate. This onlyness is that that lives and moves and has its being in me as I live and move and have my being in it. And this same truth that I know for myself, I know for each one of us. I know for all of us. And so it is from this place that I speak the word for each of us this day. Speaking a word of love, knowing that love heals all. Love is the greatest power, the greatest force in the universe. That love is God and God is love. And so I speak this word of love for each of us. In any situation and circumstance that we find ourselves, the love of God is in the midst of everything that's going on. Whether it's a physical situation, whether it's pain in the body temple, whether it is dis-ease or discomfort of any kind in our body temples, whether they're from COVID or any other dis-ease, then I know that in the midst of it all is the love of God, that healing presence of God. And whether it is in our finances or whatever that creates any sense of lack or limitation, the love of God is in the midst. The abundance that is God is in the midst. And I'm calling it forth for each and every one of us, that prosperity that is God, whether it's in relationships, issues, whatever we may name, the problem to be, I know that in the midst of it all is the love of God, the presence of God, the power of God, that healing person, that healing love of God. And that healing is happening for each one of us. Healing is happening for each and every one of us. And we open our hearts, we open our minds, we release anything, any of the thicket that would catch our hearts, that would make us feel that we are separate from the all that is. And as we release, then the allness and the fullness of God moves in and through and as us and heals any situation that is unlike itself, any situation that is unlike itself. And so I'm just knowing that healing is happening for all of us. I'm knowing that freedom is happening for all of us. I'm knowing that love is the order of the day for all of us and each of us right here and right now. And so as I open this circle of prayer, I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer. You may speak their names silently or aloud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names were spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each of them is, right in the midst of every circumstance, every situation. God is in the midst of everything. Love is in the midst of everything. This prayer goes out to anyone on this planet needing a prayer this day. This prayer goes out to this entire planet. It goes out to our government officials. It goes out everywhere. Just knowing that God is everywhere present. God is in the midst of every situation, every circumstance, every event. And that healing is happening, even despite the appearances. Healing is happening and oneness is happening everywhere. For this and so much more, I give thanks. For the perfect manifestation of the word that's been spoken here this day, I give thanks. I give thanks for everything, for everything. And I know indeed that all is well, for I know indeed that all is God, and God is love, and love is the only way. Thank you, God, and so it is.